I got royalty inside my DNA. Cocaine quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got power, poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA. I got hustle, though, ambition, flow inside my DNA.
Welcome in to Orange White Takeover. I'm Noah Caldwell. Along with me, John Broyles and Matt Brewer. It's the first week of our live podcast. How we feeling about it, boys?
Pretty excited here.
Pretty solid. I'm feeling pretty pumped about it. Pretty pumped.
Last year, we spent a couple weeks just doing some pre-recorded podcasts, and honestly, we didn't stick to it. We got busy. Last year was only me and John, and we both got really busy with school, and then, of course, Butch Jones went 4-8 as the head coach last year, and when that's going on, there's not a whole lot
we don't talk about him around here anymore.
Sorry. The intern went 4-8, and it made it hard to have some passion to do the things. But we're here this year. We're going to stick to it. We got Coach Jeremy Pruitt as the head coach now, and I know things are going to go in a much different direction. So we're going to start with Matt. He's going to kind of introduce who he is, what his background is, and why he's really joined Orange White Takeover.
Yep, I'm Matt Brewer. I've lived in Knoxville my entire life, for most of my life, been a UT football fan for the entire time I've been here. From the moment I came to Knoxville and saw him playing on TV with my dad, always been passionate about him. I joined with Noah after this past year. Started doing a few things with Orange White Takeover, a couple articles, a couple other different things. I played college football at East Tennessee State University for 3 years, where, I was obviously a ETSU fan, but always at the same time a Tennessee fan. So I'll be excited to watch that game this year where ETSU comes down here to play Tennessee. Yeah, and that's about all, everything important about me. Just a big football fan, big Tennessee fan.
What about you, John?
All right, well, my name is John Broyles. Born and raised here in Knoxville as well. Been a UT fan my whole entire life. Went to CAK here in town and then went to UT, just graduated in May. Possibly getting involved with the military and doing grad school, but while I'm in town, I'm going to be helping out the boys with the Orange and White Takeover still, and hopefully tagging along on some trips this fall that we're all excited about. Of course, have Auburn and Charlotte, two of the bigger road games, and then another trip to Athens this year. But I played ball all the way through up until college. Have a little bit of knowledge about the game, but honestly just been a student and love watching, love getting involved with a little coaching, but as are these guys. But happy to be back, happy to have y'all here, and excited for this new season.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be a fun time. Of course, my name's Noah Caldwell. I was born in Nashville but moved to Knoxville when I was about 1 year old. I was raised going to games. When my dad got tickets to go to the games, I've been a Tennessee fan. I remember crying myself to sleep after we lost to Auburn in 2004. Outside of that, when I got to college, that's when I really decided, I'm going to start traveling to these games, It's something I didn't do in high school. I had sports that was going on. I just didn't have the time to take a full weekend to go and travel to another SEC town. So once I got into college, I really started taking advantage of that. And I realized I waste a lot of time and a lot of money while I'm in these towns because there's not a whole lot of information unless you're going to spend hours and hours the week before doing your due diligence to find the right hotel room, to find the place to park. I can't tell you how many times that I got to a town. Took me an hour to 2 hours to find good parking, and then from there, I'm walking around trying to find a tailgate, trying to find a bar to tailgate at. So that's where a lot of the passion came from, to find, to have a place where you can find all those things in about 5 minutes, So going into actually talking about the Vols, because it's enough about, our background. That can get boring. Fall camp starting later this week. What are the different things y'all looking forward to as far as camp goes?
Obviously, you've got some big-time position battles, especially on offense, at running back and quarterback. A little bit of interesting matchups, how the offensive line is going to shuffle out. But having Trey Smith get cleared is huge for the offense. A lot of competition on the back end with the DBs, and it'll be interesting fitting in the athletes that as we've moved Kongbo to linebacker, seeing how Sapp and Batuli and Kirkland and everybody fit in. I think that the player competition is essentially having a fresh coach also going to be one of the biggest things for this fall camp, and as has been rehashed by the coaches, is that everyone has a clean slate and a fair shot, and Pruitt's an all-effort coach that, he wants results and he wants productivity, and that's the bottom line. And if you're not showing it in practice every day, he doesn't care how. I think he is very willing to play guys that he's brought in for this first recruiting class, guys like Banks and Carvin, Alante Taylor. I do not think that he is afraid to put them out on the field in a heartbeat.
No, I think the coaching philosophy change is going to be, dynamic. You have former players, you got radio hosts around here talking that, with both Dooley and Bush, there was a sense of, if you're a good player, you can kind of do what you want. That led to some egos out on the field. It led to some guys thinking that, hey, if I'm not doing as well as I think I should, or if the offense isn't getting changed to fit exactly what I want, then I'm going to give up. And, I don't think that's going to be an issue with Pruitt. I think everybody's going to be on the same playing field, whether you're a walk-on or whether you're the star player on the team. And that's going to lead to a lot more guys that are going to be, team-oriented and going to be pushing on their own teammates. Another thing that's going to be very interesting to me is, as we've seen over the last 2 years, injuries have been devastating during the season. You think back even to 2015, Kurt Magid hurts his hip on a non-contact play on a punt. Going into 2016, you got
Reeves, Maven, Sutton, Kirkland.
Exactly. You see all these players, and last year was the same way. You had Jennings go down with a wrist injury. You had Cortez McDowell go down with a wrist injury. So, but the things that you didn't see those couple of years is nobody got hurt during camp. Last year was completely clean until right before Georgia Tech. Darren Kirkland got his knee taken out during what we've heard is a really stupid drill. So I think this year is going to be a much more physical camp. I think Pruitt's going to really push the guys to be more physical, and I think that could lead to some guys missing some time. You may see a guy's out for a week or 2 weeks here, or miss a couple practice here or there. But that's just going to be one of those things, and you got to get the guys tough for the season, or else you're going to end up getting injuries like what's happened the last couple of years when Butch let them, the starters walk around in shorts and really not do anything.
I agree. And that a lot of that comes down to being physical in fall camp. They've got a in fall camp which starts tomorrow, correct?
I believe it's tomorrow. Yes.
Tomorrow. It's all about starting hitting early, being physical early, and then letting off as the season comes closer. But it comes down to that and your strength coach. Okay, and I definitely feel like the strength coach under Butch Jones, they had problems, and he did not do a very good job of keeping our players healthy and doing the right exercises to keep them from having injuries, wrist injuries, or stupid little injuries that are nagging throughout the season.
Now, tell me this. You had told me this a couple of years ago, or maybe have just been a year ago. You were talking with your weightlifting coach at ETSU, and who was talking with whoever the weightlifting coach was, Lawson.
Dave Lawson.
Talking about the new guy and how they wouldn't do any, wrist exercises, which you all do on almost every day in practice, or ankle exercises, and that's why we saw some wrist injuries and things along those lines.
So my strength coach at ETSU, Alan Johnson, was very good friends with Dave Lawson, and Dave Lawson actually, after he left Tennessee, he came up there and worked with us 2 days a week for the entire summer. And we talked about it with him, and they did not we always did wrist exercises, ankle exercises, simple strengthening stuff with light weight, but that would keep them loose, stretch them, just build strength and keep them stretched out, just so that way they wouldn't get hurt. And they didn't do that down there, and that's a very good reason why they had those wrists and ankle injuries throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I'm hoping that, what's our strength coach? Fitzgerald. I think anytime you see a guy that's been in the NFL and has been at a program such as Penn State, which is where he came from, correct?
Yep. No, he wasn't at Van. He was Shoup. No.
But anytime that you see a guy like that that's got, the pedigree that he's come with, they're going to know these kinds of things. And Coach Pruitt, coming from the Saban tree, where Saban takes a full step away and lets Coach Cochran down there take care of them in the weight room, I think he's going to do the same thing, let Fitzgerald do what he needs to. One thing that John had brought up earlier was the philosophies that these coaches are going to bring along with strategies. something that everybody's going to be, looking into, reading into every piece of information that comes out of practice is what's the offense going to look like? What's the defense going to look like? Some of the different questions. Where's Nigel Warrior going to line up on the defense? Are we going to actually have a fullback? Which it looks that way.
I like it.
Yeah. What's his face? Tight end. What's his name?
Jacob Johnson?
Mm-mm.
That's not him, no.
Graduated.
Yeah, that's right. He's
One
going.
of our tight ends, the backup, is listed now as a tight end / running back at 263 pounds, which one would assume
That's a
means
fullback.
That's a fullback.
That's a fullback.
So, that's going to be an exciting thing, but it is looking into every day at practice, thinking what's going to happen here. So
Talking about Jaquan Blakely.
Blakely, yes, Blakely is more than likely going to be a fullback this year. I mean, any guy that's listed as a running back with those kind of measures
as well as having Austin Pope as an option at H-back,
Yes.
and the rest of the tight ends. I think that Pruitt experimented with Bumpus there. You have the freshman in Warren, but then the starter is going to, at tight end, is obviously likely going to be Wood Anderson coming in.
Wood Anderson, and I would expect
And Eli Wolf,
with
right?
Eli Wolf getting sit down to media days, I would assume that means that he has a step up on Austin Pope.
Yeah, and I think that honestly, I think he will be sliding into an H-back type role, which I think fits his athleticism and size well in the SEC.
Absolutely. What are some of the things y'all are really wanting to see as far as the strategy goes from this Tennessee team?
I think that one thing that really excited me and a lot of people was the vertical passing game in the Orange and White game.
Absolutely.
I think that Tyson Helton's offense is based around having the ability to run the ball on any down, but also having the ability to have vertical threats on any down as well. I think that's what he essentially is basing his offense around, and that's the functionality of that philosophy is obviously going to put a lot on quarterback play.
Definitely.
So I'm hoping that he will be able to develop some way, whoever quarterbacks we have during his tenure here, the way that Darnold was brought up. Who knows? I'm not saying that we need a top 5 draft pick in the next year, but I'm excited for the opportunities that he brings as an offensive coordinator, as well as a quarterback's coach type persona.
Yeah, and with the vertical passing game, I'm hoping this means that we're going to bring a lot more play action into our offense. One thing that I read last night, and I do not remember where I saw it, but we have the number 1 and number 2 returning FBS quarterbacks when it comes to the percentage difference between a play action play against a non-play action play. Keller Crisp is number 1 in the entire country in returning FBS quarterbacks as far as percentage difference of completed passes. When it comes to, and Garantano is 2.
Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, so when it comes to a play action kind of play, it looks like both the quarterbacks that we have are well suited for that. So I'm thinking if you can get the vertical passing game going, then obviously that's going to open up some running lanes, and to clog those running lanes, a play action pass is going to be the perfect way to hit that. So I'm excited to see if that is something that Coach Helton brings here. And it's just an exciting time. It's been a while since we've been wondering. We went out and hired an Olympic swimming coach to be an offensive coordinator one time. Where I guess we could worry about what the offense was going to look like under him. But in all seriousness, it is an exciting time, and I'm just hoping and praying that we line up at the 1-yard line, not in the shotgun.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Oh my
Agreed.
gosh.
So
And
If I see that again, then I don't know what I'm going to do.
at least you weren't there.
That's true. That's true.
And honestly, I think that one of the most exciting things just is having the merit and quality of the staff that we've assembled. Personalities and guys with experience like Scherer, Rumpf, Kelly, Fair, Friend. Just throughout the offseason, it was one hire after another. It was like, I'm thoroughly satisfied at least. Maybe every hire wasn't, who I expected or who I wanted or the number 1 choice, but I think that Pruitt did a phenomenal job of getting the people that he wanted, and that's the advantage of being an assistant that gets hired, and he's a first-time head coach. He's not obligated essentially to bring any of his staff. He gets to go pick his dream team, and so honestly, I think that all of our position groups are going to take tremendous developmental steps forward, and I think that you have already seen the dividends being paid on the recruiting trail.
I agree with that. Obviously, the biggest problem with Lyle's teams were the fact that he couldn't develop any of his talent. And I think that this recruit or coaching staff right here has proven that they can develop talent. A lot more proven than Butch Jones's last year. That coaching staff, they did a very poor job with all of our highly rated recruits.
They all stayed stagnant.
They all stayed stagnant. They came out of high school and they didn't improve. They were the exact same. I mean, you had players like Khalil McKenzie, who should have been the best player on the field. And
been an offensive guard.
Should have been an offensive guard is what he should have been. Yeah. But I mean,
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, he is over there. And Butch Jones didn't have the ability to see that. And the rest of the coaching staff, I guess didn't either. Or he shot it down.
I think that where you'll see the development this year, as opposed to years past, is I think the defensive line is where you're going to see the most player development from one year to another. I think
absolutely
that guys like Jonathan Kongbo, who came in, we thought was going to be just as good as DBs will also, just because Pruitt worked with them, but the defensive line, you got guys. I mean, the lowest rated one out of all of them was Darrell Taylor, and obviously he's been the best.
4-star,
but she was still a high 4-star. But guys, Kyle Phillips was an all-around consensus 5-star guy. You know, and I know he's shy total. Both of them dealt with injuries, but then Kongbo's been on the field, and it's just they didn't have the.
We've never seen him.
Exactly.
Yeah, we've just never seen him. He never got the coaching he needed.
And going back to the coaching hires, you know, all of them were great, but the only ones that I was a little concerned with were like Will Friend. But then I was reassured, you know, during SEC media days, they asked Pruitt about that, and he said the only two defenses that were able to run the ball against me at, you know, Alabama consistently.
2 offenses.
2012, Georgia, Will Friend was the offensive line coach there, and then this previous year, Colorado State was able to run the ball on Alabama, and Will Friend was also the offensive line coach there. Made me feel a ton better about that, and the things that we're hearing already is that David Johnson is going to be an absolute fantastic fit.
Absolutely.
And
I'm really excited. It seems like he is a very enthusiastic coach. I mean, his development of what was that Memphis receiver's name? Took the kid from almost unrecruited coming into Memphis. I mean, now he's getting drafted in the NFL, setting school records. So I mean, he seems like a phenomenal coach. Going to have a great pipeline to the Memphis area, which is going to be huge for us moving forward.
Yep.
Because I think that Pruitt has hit, in whether it be Big Orange Caravan or local quarterback club meetings or whatever, he's been repeatedly asked about in-state recruiting versus national recruiting, and he has consistently talked about how, you know, when Tennessee dominated in the 90s, that it was via national recruiting, and that you have to have a presence around the country. So even though, you know, Memphis 6 hours away, maybe Brutch had a little bit of success with the Richmond recruitment, but that if that became a stronghold for us, it'd be huge against rivals like Ole Miss, Mississippi State, LSU. I mean, we have to fight for kids coming out of Memphis.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of talent. So I was excited, almost ecstatic about that hire.
Let's talk about some of the competitions going on during camp, because there's a ton of them. I mean, you look at the offensive side of the ball, you got the quarterback position, you got, 5-6 guys at the running back position that are, all Chandler and London are probably just ahead of the rest of them, but the rest are, they're all going to be
wide
carries.
open after that, yeah.
Your third wide receiver position, even though Brandon Johnson looks like he may have that locked up, is still up for grabs, because you got guys like Jordan Murphy, Jaquez Jones, Tyler Bird, you can't forget about him. You got all those guys.
Are you excluding Josh Palmer from that equation?
No, Josh Palmer, I just think he's going to fit. And when I'm talking about the third wide receiver position there, I'm talking more of the slot there. And I think Palmer is going to be one of those, talk about the vertical game. I mean, last year, I cannot tell you how many times that he beat a defensive back, and one of our quarterbacks laid about 10 yards ahead of him.
Either missed him or just didn't read it right and didn't get it to him. Happened way too many times.
Exactly. So we've already hit on the tight end position in that competition. And your offensive line, you got 7 or 8 guys that they can shuffle in there at different positions, which is, you want to build some continuity, but at least for the first time you have a little bit of depth, it's one of the biggest things this coaching staff has done this offseason is build that up. You look, going into when we're making a coaching hire, that's a major weak point. Now we've got ourselves
absolutely
an SEC center, now that we've got Brandon Kennedy, and Jameer Johnson is going to come in and also be quality, at least have some size to be able to go in there and play the guard position. So Those are just on the offensive side. So which of the competitions you want to talk about first? I mean, we can start at the quarterback and work our way.
We'll talk about the quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback.
What was it? Killer came out as a favorite the other day to win it.
As far as betting odds,
did. I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean, barely. He won the starting job at Stanford until he tore something. Did he tear something in his knee? Early in the season,
he got hurt in the bowl game. The year that he went 6-0. He came in the first year that he played any games. He came in midway through the season. Went 5-0 during the regular season, and then got hurt midway through the bowl game, which they went on to win. So as a starter, he went 6-0 in his first year. Last year, I'll pull this up so I don't get it wrong. But last year, he started the first few games of the year. They ended up going 1-2 with losses to both USC, who was ranked at number 12 at the time, and then lost to San Diego State, who honestly is not a terrible team.
Yeah, they were underrated.
Donald Pumphrey just got drafted at the very end of the first round by the Seahawks, so it was not a terrible team. After that, it was just back and forth. He ended up getting back in there and ended up going, 4-2 4-2 in games that he threw over 15 passes, not games started, but in games that he threw over 15 passes, he went 4-2. So as a starter, he's ended up.
He's had his moments, yeah. He's definitely had his moments.
And he's won a lot of games, but you compare to the talent and coaching that Stanford has had versus, when Garantano actually got his shot to be the starting quarterback, you got a makeshift line that had,
absolutely.
You
had Trey Smith. Trey Smith was your center, guard, tackle, and tackle.
And it's come out that, he had a bum leg for, and as he missed a game, he had a bum leg for most of the time that he actually got to play last year. So I think it'll be an exciting quarterback competition.
Absolutely.
Between guys that we honestly don't really know all that much about. We didn't watch Keller Crisp play, and we got to see just a little bit of Garantano last year, but I don't even really count that because of how much he had going against him.
That's very true. And I think Keller Crisp might fit a little bit better with Pruitt's system. I think he's more of a passer, and obviously Garantano was recruited for Butch's zone read offense more so than that. I think it could still end up being a very good battle. I think that Keller Crisp will probably pull it out, in my opinion, just based off of what I've seen early. Obviously, he hasn't practiced with us yet. But
I hate to play this card here, but I would almost rather, if it's a neck and neck race, I would almost rather have Garantano in there, getting the reps for next year. I mean, this year it's not a throwaway year, but it is a rebuild year, and next year's schedule is, it's one of the easiest schedule in recent memory for Tennessee football, and you don't want to go into next year losing. Let's say Chris wins the job, he plays fine, just mediocre, but Garantano transfers out of here. Then you're left next year with J.T. Shrout or Will McBride or whoever we bring in this next class with Maurer right now.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a huge, I appreciate the experience and the obvious talent and ability that Chris is going to bring to the team, but I think that Garantano is going to take big strides forward under Helton. He's worked constantly with George Whitfield, the quarterback guru, over this summer, who even went as far to say that Garantano was top 3, top 5 arm talent he has ever coached. And that's with guys like Jameis Winston, Johnny Manziel, Cam Newton. He has coached them all. So that says a lot about Garantano's true ability just as a passer, disregarding his whatever he brings you with his legs, but just as a passer, he has so much natural ability. Honestly, I think that I give the nod as well to Garantano, especially for that reason, going into next season and getting his second year under his belt. Nothing against Chris, but Garantano went out there and played his butt off. Every single game that he did last season. Look at the passion after the South Carolina game. I thought he was going to lead us down to win that game. I would love a kid that fights and competes like that, even on when he's faced with the circumstances and situation that he was with the team last year. So I think it'll be a good competition, and I'm extremely thankful that we were able to bring in and enable graduate transfer in the off season.
You see, I agree with all that, and I would love to see Garantano play and get that confidence underneath him for next year, especially. I mean, just to get his talent up. I mean, obviously just to get him some reps. The one thing I always find myself coming back to in that case is that Butch Jones burned Josh Dobbs' red shirt 2 separate times for absolutely no reason. And that the only thing I don't want to happen is that if you're gonna pick Garantano, I want you to pick Garantano and stick with him. I don't want to see him play in 3 games, start the year for 3 games.
Used his red shirt year.
Mm-hmm.
He did?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
He's a red shirt
then
sophomore.
Whatever. I'm stupid. Yeah. Never mind then. In that case, yeah, I would prefer to see Garantano come out there and start in that case.
And one myth I'd like to bust is that, Garantano is this super dual threat guy and Kellerchris is this super in the pocket guy. Kellerchris has the longest quarterback touchdown run in Stanford history. He had a 62-yard touchdown run 2 years ago. And it's just one of the things you look at last year, the stats are so skewed because of how bad the offensive line was. I looked at one game and it was like South Carolina, Garantano had 17 carries for negative 11 yards.
Yep.
And it's just one of those things where both guys have about the same skill set. Yes, Chris is a ginormous dude. He's listed at like 6'5", 250. Like, a dude is built. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how it happens, but at the end of the day, if they are on the same level of playing, or even if it's close, I'd like to see Garantano get the nod over Chris. Let's talk about the running backs. This one's not as much of a competition because you really got 2 guys at the top that are going to get a lot of the carries, but you got interesting guys such as Coleman that's going to get in the passing game because he's such a great pass catcher. You got the new kids like you got Jeremy Banks. London's also one of the new guys, but Jeremy Banks, that dude is huge and he's super fast. What was the time that he ran in the 100-yard
10-600
meter?
10-600.
Yeah. So when you look at that kind of thing, that's incredible speed, especially for a guy who's listed over 200 pounds right now, at over 6 feet. And you can't forget about Tim Jordan.
I loved Tim Jordan last year, and then when we got all these new running backs in, he just dropped straight down the depth chart according to everybody else, which surprised me because I thought he's power back, obviously, right? Power back. I thought he did well for us last year when he was in the game. Behind an offensive line that was shoddy at best.
And Pruitt said in his SEC Media Day spiel that one of the biggest things in the SEC is when it comes to running back, you can't just have 2 good guys. You got to have a stable of 5 or 6 because in SEC football, those guys are going to get hurt. They're going to get. Let's say we had to play John Kelly, even though that he's all bumped and bruised, and maybe it takes a step or 2 away from him. If we can let him rest some and get some more of these other guys get carries, if we'd have had more last year, we had Chandler who was a true freshman, we had Tim Jordan who was a true freshman, we had Coleman who was a true freshman. If we had more depth behind that, maybe he doesn't lose that step because he's hurt, because he can, take a couple extra reps off in a game or during practice or whatever. So
yeah, exactly. And then he ends up coming back the week after perfectly fine instead of having an injury carry on for 4 weeks and then end up just hurting us as a team down the road.
So are we all in agreement that it's going to be London and Chandler who's going to take a majority of the carries?
Yeah. Well, and I think that you're going to see a split essentially with London being an all-purpose back and Chandler being much more of a scat flex type back. That's going to get out into the flats, run angle routes, get linebackers and safeties in bad matchups. And as well as getting the ball in his hands on the ground because, as he showed against Kentucky, he's a very, very able runner. I think that he brings so much athleticism and explosiveness. And
don't forget about the kick return game, too.
That's what I was going to say is that, I think that the offensive philosophy, as we've already talked about, looking for dynamic playmakers, I think that Chandler will fit into that offense well, and possibly I wouldn't be surprised to see him line up at slot some, although we do have speed there already with Brandon Johnson, Latrell Williams, as well as Alontae Taylor, and got young guys like Bryce Thompson. But
right, and speaking of that, let's go ahead and just take it right into that. Defensive backs, because as of right now, Alontae Taylor and Bryce Thompson are both listed as defensive backs, which really means that he's not all that. Coach Pruitt is not all that comfortable with what we've got at the corner position right now. So
obviously, and I would agree with him on that.
I definitely agree with him on that.
It probably is the weakest position on the team right now, and that's why I am more than happy that Jeremy Pruitt's specialty is defensive backs. You're going to have returning guys that are Balin Buchanan, a junior now. Is that right?
Yes, I believe so.
Schamberger is now a sophomore. How old is Markel Osborne now?
I think he's a senior, is he not?
Buchanan Jr., Marquil Osborne is
he even listed?
Yeah. There he is, junior as well.
So you got a couple juniors, you got a sophomore with Schamberger, and then you're also throwing in the 2 freshmen, Alante Taylor and Bryce Thompson, who are both full of talent.
Absolutely.
And the switch over with Phil Zami.
Yeah, Phil Zami is also going to throw in an interesting one back there, too, just to add another body back there. That's going to be the most interesting out of all the positions going into fall camp to see who's going to be the ones to step up. And, you
Absolutely.
know, it depends how he's going to play the nickel. Because down in Alabama, he almost used the nickel sometimes as that star player that you saw Minka Fitzpatrick playing, which I would assume is what you'll see Nigel Warrior doing, because we do have a lot more depth and experience at the safety position. With
easily.
I mean,
between Nigel, Todd Kelly Jr., who else we got?
Abernathy.
Yep, Abernathy. Yeah, I know.
But,
oh my goodness.
You got him, and then also Theo Jackson showed out pretty good in the spring, so that throws in another body back at safety to go along with Trayvon Flowers. I believe is he going to be playing safety? Is that what they're wanting him to do? Because
he was told, I believe, that he would receive reps at all defensive back positions. They love his versatility and just general athleticism.
So kind of thing wherever he's needed, he can hop in there. Yeah.
And Pruitt was talking about him being one of the steals of the entire past class. So there are guys back there. There's talent. You know, you lost the guys from last year that were playing your corner position. It's just how it is.
But I mean, honestly, Mosley and Martin had good games, had bad games.
Yeah, they had their ups and downs easily.
So I mean, as you already noted, the positive outlook is having Pruitt come in and Charles Kelly come in, Terry Fair come in. All these presences that are going to be great coaches and development for the defensive backs. You have Todd, but the reality is you had Todd Kelly coming off an injury. Abernathy, who has shown coverage issues multiple times.
Which may be a coaching thing.
Osborne has never been a proven every down corner. Buchanan has had up and down seasons in a career. Your only studs has really been Nigel Warrior.
And he's only really played for 1 year.
Schamberger has shown some flashes.
Yes, Schamberger is definitely, in my opinion, I think that the DBs shakes out with Schamberger starting. I would say Osborne or Alante Taylor will start at the other with
Todd Kelly and Nigel Warrior.
See, honestly,
I don't think there's any way Todd Kelly doesn't start.
I think it ends up Todd Kelly, and I think I would love to see a possible Theo Jackson, but honestly, I think that possibly Abernathy will have made some strides forward as well. He's going to be your experience on the back end, and I think that as Noah noted, I think we're going to want the physicality and athleticism of Nigel Warrior up closer to the line of scrimmage, playing star or nickel essentially. I think that's what you're going to see his role become, because I think that he just has shown so much ability around and closing speed.
He's definitely a run stopper.
Yeah, I mean, with the ability to be a ball hawking safety, but the coverage discipline at the college level is another animal than it is in high school, and so
absolutely.
I think that, but it's a season of excitement, but also taking everything with a grain of salt and realizing that this is, this coaching staff's first year. They can only accomplish so much in one off season.
Aren't you happy that we're playing the number one passing offense in the entire country week one?
Oh yeah, that's gonna be tons of fun. We'll learn a lot about our team that week, our defense at least that week.
Well, and one thing that you can point to in positivity is if you talk about these week one matchups that are a neutral site. Alabama's done this, they were one of the first teams to start doing this, and it seems every year. I actually cannot think of a year that Alabama has lost.
I don't think they have. I don't think they have lost.
Usually, it's beaten USC 50 to whatever 7, whatever that game ended up, destroying Virginia Tech back in 2012 or 2013, whenever that was.
Yep.
I know DeAndre Francois got hurt last year, and FSU ended up
But
not
they
being
were-
that good. But that was a really good FSU team going into that game.
It was. I mean,
So-
even after he got hurt, they were still up 2 touchdowns, weren't
Right.
they? Something like that.
Something like that. But what I'm trying to get at here is
Pruitt
Pruitt
is
is
a good
yeah,
preparation.
Great
Yes.
preparation. I think a lot of that can be attributed. I mean, Saban's
No,
obviously
no.
Saban, but
I'm trying to
Pruitt's
attribute-
learned from him. Yeah.
I'm trying to attribute it to Saban. I'm saying that this is the guy that he learned from,
Yep.
and this is the guy that he, really models his coaching philosophy after. As far as what we've seen, the fights down at Georgia because he was too hard nosed and wouldn't accept 10 wins. It seems that he's taken on the whole persona of what Nick Saban is all about. So, if he's just as detailed in his preparation, especially when you give him months, like more than half a year to prepare for one opponent, I think you'll see a lot, from our defense, especially in that game, which may lead to some of us thinking,
Yeah.
oh, we're back already. If
well,
he managed
yeah.
to pull out that kind of win. But
And the one thing that I think has been interesting in this offseason is that Pruitt at media days and consistently, he has loved essentially pointing out that while he is okay with comparisons and looking at it at being in the Saban coaching tree and his past stops, but this is his first time being a head coach, and that he legitimately, I think it was on the ESPN set at SEC Media Days, was just like, I want to be my own coach. I want to be my own personality, and so I'm actually excited to see those little nuances and intricacies, because I think that will truly show the merit of Pruitt as a coach, and I think that will possibly be a separating factor in the years to come, because everything. You never want to get too excited. Obviously, there was many a Vol fan that bought into brick by brick, but
go Cardinals.
Go Cardinals, right?
There's
Bruce Arians out there making great
It's
decisions.
not Bruce Arians anymore.
Oh, damn, he got fired too. I'm that guy today, huh?
But I think there's a lot of
boy.
reason for optimism with Jeremy Pruitt at the helm, and honestly, Philip Fulmer overlooking everything as the AD. I think that for now, the university has made some moves that has the football program heading in the right direction early on, per se.
And what you said was important there. This is his first year being a head coach at the collegiate level. We got to understand that there's going to be a hiccup here or there. I mean, you can look back under the first year of Kirby Smart. They almost lost to Nicholls State. Kirby Smart put Leonard Floyd in the back. It was Leonard Floyd, right? Put him in the back to try to catch a Hail Mary, and we know how that ended. Nick Saban lost to Louisiana Lafayette or Louisiana Monroe his first year at Alabama. There's going to be hiccups, and we've got to understand that. No, I do not want to lose to UTEP or to Charlotte or something along
To
those
ETSU?
lines. We're not losing to
Is
We're not losing to
my
ETSU.
boys? Are my boys coming out and
Honestly, UTEP went 0-12 last year, something along those lines. So we don't want to see that kind of thing, but at the same time, he's going to make a decision this year that we're not going to agree with, and it's just going to be one of those things where he got caught up in the moment. Probably if he'd had a little bit more time to look at it, probably would not have made that same decision, but we got to understand and take it with a grain of salt that this is his first year. He's learning on it and, learning on the job. But as you were alluding to, having Philip Fulmer there as far as preparation, of course, Philip can't help him on the sideline, but as far as preparation, as far as talking to the right people, which Pruitt has already said, there's a lot more talking to people than he realized when he took over this job as far as alumni and boosters and everything like that. He can help him get through those areas where he may feel less comfortable. So I'm very excited about that. So
well, I mean, what you just said, Philip Fulmer won't be able to help him out on the sideline. I don't think Philip Fulmer necessarily needs to help him out on the sideline. Philip Fulmer is one of the Tennessee all-time great coach, one of the greatest coaches in college history. I mean, Jeremy Pruitt's learned so much from between him and Nick Saban and just being around both of those people for as long as he has, that there's no doubt about it. He knows how to conduct himself on a sideline, and he has a cool head. Jeremy Pruitt's not somebody who's going to go. He seems like he's a guy who's going to have every possibility thought out, and he knows what he's going to do in every situation before it happens. And that's just because of who he's been around. I mean, Nick Saban, you think Nick Saban doesn't know what he's doing in literally any situation? He's been around him for how many years now? How many years was he under Nick Saban?
it's been off and on. He worked as a defensive
That's right.
backs coach, but I think it's the last two
I mean,
seasons that he was back as a defensive coordinator.
My point is, he's cool-headed. He knows how to compose himself when he's in a bad situation, and he's not going to make some of the dumb decisions. He's not going to go look at the chart and read the chart or the fourth down chart like Butch Jones did
Make
last
sure to go for
Yeah. Yeah.
The extra point chart when you're
The
up
extra
12
point chart. He's not going to
with
go look
4
at
minutes left. Jesus.
Jeremy Pruitt doesn't have a chart, okay? Jeremy Pruitt does what he's supposed to do.
I'm sure Jeremy still has a chart somewhere. let's go ahead and move on to this week. We've had a Twitter poll tournament type sorts talking about which game are you most excited for this season. And with us being a more of a traveling type thing, worrying about the different kind of games and everything, and let's just preface this: we're not here to break news for UT. I mean, if every once in a while we come across something, we'll share it with you all. But that's not what we're trying to compete on here. We're not trying to give 99.1 a run for their money or anything. Go Vols extra. We're not trying to do those things. We're trying to provide you all with information as far as the games that are coming up, the towns that are coming up, and trying to really put all the information in one place so you all have that. That being said, we're still going to give our opinions as we have tonight. Those different things. That's an important thing to us. It's where we have some passion for, and we're not stupid. I mean, outside of Matt not doing his research on Bruce Arians.
I've got problems over here, guys.
But what game are you all most excited for this year? It could be home, away, neutral site, whatever you want. And tell us why you're excited for that game.
I want to kick Florida's ass in Neyland and send Dan Mullen home
absolutely.
crying.
Might have a couple stipulations with him.
Moose Knuckle Dan.
Oh my gosh, that man is something else. I don't know.
Gators after dark.
Gators after dark, man.
Yeah, I think that's just going to be such a pivotal game for the season. First massive game at home under Pruitt, big rivalry. Coming off, our big win in 2016, breaking the streak at home, and then of course the meltdown in Gainesville last year that we were on the fourth row for. But I think it's just going to be – I think it's a big matchup, and I think it's exciting to see two new coaches, the quarterback battles that are going on in each camp. I think it's going to be – I think it's going to be a good game.
And for once it helps – it seems to always hurt us that we play them earlier in the year, but this year it seems to help because I don't think they'll have their quarterback situation figured out yet. And even if they've had to thrust Emory Jones into, games – he's played Kentucky, and that's it before us.
Yep.
They don't really have a game that they can show one of their quarterback, hey, this is what it's going to be like. It's going to be 102,000 fans.
Yep.
Bearing down on whoever the quarterback is that game.
I mean, which you saw how that affected Appleby 2 years ago.
Yep. Absolutely.
I mean, it was an awesome game. I mean, I still think that Oklahoma and Georgia have it for volume, but it was one of the most, once we got rolling, it was one of the most electric atmospheres that I remember at Neyland.
Absolutely.
Especially being there personally. That's probably the biggest game that I'm excited for to see. I mean, because we'll figure out a decent amount week one with the matchup against West Virginia. But it's we'll just they're going to be a boom or bust team. It'll probably be but their offense, and then they have such an interesting defense, the 3-3-5. It's really not telling for any team on the rest of our schedule. So I really it's a first game it's our first SEC game. It's always a huge game coming down for the division. Georgia more than likely has that locked up this season, but you never know down the road. So I really like that. I think it will be I think it's a big game for the team, for Pruitt, the coaching staff, and the program in general.
The fans.
Yeah. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
I think it'll honestly. I mean, over the past few years, I mean, I think it will just be a continued theme with recruiting battles against Florida. I mean, and Dan Mullen is only going to increase that issue.
They're competing with Iowa for recruits now.
Yeah, I think we've got Dan Mullen's over here struggling hardcore right now.
Mississippi State's ranked right now like 13th or 14th in the country with recruiting.
And Florida's what, like 37? Yeah.
So,
Dan Mullen's struggling
Dan Mullen
for the moment at
Mississippi
least.
State like nobody else could. Matt,
Florida,
what game are you most excited for?
I can't really name one specific one besides Florida, but there's a couple of them that really stand out to me.
Give us one outside of Florida since
I'm excited to go to Auburn. I can't tell you if I'm too excited for the game itself. I feel like Auburn's going to have a very.
Excited. I mean,
I'm excited for the game. There's no doubt, but
I understand
in terms of the trip itself, I'm very excited for the game. It's just going to depend on how we come out and show out early in the season.
That's important for that.
We come off a bye week, and it depends on just how good Auburn is this year.
I mean,
They've got their up
you
years. They've
never
got their
know.
down. They bust some years. They don't bust some years.
It seems like
having-
Malzahn coaches his best when he needs a new contract, and he
That's
just
very
got paid
true.
this past offseason.
Having Stidham returning though is going to be. They
Absolutely.
have talent and potential, but it's college football. They play the game for a reason.
Exactly.
I
Anything
honestly
happen any
think.
week.
I mean, with what will help us is having a bye week after the Georgia game, going to Auburn. I think that we will actually be competitive in that game, in my opinion.
I agree.
I don't know that we will win it, but obviously there's a lot of questions right now for both teams and every team in college football. But I think that we'll be competitive at Auburn.
Absolutely, and one of the biggest things about Auburn, what makes it like such an interesting trip and so important as far as how you would rank these games as far as what's the best ones for the fans is we won't play at Auburn again for over 20 years.
14 years.
14 years?
Yes.
Okay, less than 20, but still 14 years, which is incredible, to think. That's why I found it so important to go down to Texas A&M a couple years ago whenever we played there, is you just don't get the opportunity to go to some of these towns. So I would invite everybody that can to make their way down to Auburn this year.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
All three of us will be there.
All of us will be down there, and we already on our website we got the page up for Auburn. We got the page up for all the different towns that we're visiting. But I guess I'll go ahead and give my game, and since you all have both mentioned the Florida game and the Auburn game, I'll go with week 1. It's an exciting time. We've been waiting. I've been doing the countdown on our Twitter account since 99 days, so I literally have been counting down the days. Until we finally, or not we, but the Vols get to step on the field finally to play against West Virginia Brokeback Mountaineers, as we like to call them. It's going to be in Charlotte. Anytime that you can play inside an NFL stadium, it's cool.
We went down to Tampa and watched us play in
Atlanta last year.
And those were some fun games.
Well, you get some actual seats, not bleachers.
Yeah.
I enjoy the bleachers. I enjoy the college atmosphere and everything being shoved tightly together, get as many people in there. But at the same time, you like the luxury every once in a while. We still get the nice student tickets. Even though John graduated this past spring, he was still able to get a ticket for the student section for that game. So it's going to be a fun time. There's a Brad Paisley concert going on down there. And, there's a bunch of things in Charlotte. It's not one of those cities that you get to travel to for a sporting event a whole lot unless you're a
NASCAR
or Charlotte Hornets fan, which, God bless you if you are.
Kimball Walker.
Kimball Walker, man. I love Kimball Walker. Don't talk no crap about him.
But it is going to be a fun time. There's Carowinds also there. I don't know if I mentioned that already. But it is going to be a fun time heading to that game. So as we wrap up here, I think we're each just going to throw out a couple of bold predictions for this year. If you all have any off the top of your head, this is just no preparation. What comes to your head is, what do you think is going to happen? Give me 2.
Oh,
Matt, what do you got? Give us one first, and we can go back through. That way, it gives you an extra
bold
bit of time.
prediction.
For the Vols.
We beat Missouri by 3 or more touchdowns.
Whoa, that's bold.
Beat Missouri by 3 or more touchdowns.
Okay.
That's bold.
I see it. I mean, their defense doesn't return hardly anything. They've got a quarterback who's got an arm, but isn't necessarily the most accurate guy ever. And by the end of this, and they got Dooley.
The Derek Dooley effect.
They got Dooley. You know what happens when Derek Dooley touches your program, right? Okay, it's going to shit. All right.
Y'all heard the story, right, about Derek Dooley Drew Lock told the story at SEC Media Day, saying when you go to a sandwich shop, Drew Lock ordered a sandwich and didn't want any onions or mustard or something on it. And Derek scolded him right there in front of everybody and said, when you order a sandwich, the person who made that sandwich knows exactly how it's supposed to taste. So you order it with everything that comes on because that's how that sandwich is supposed to taste. And Drew said, everywhere I go with Coach Dooley, I have to order a sandwich like that. And they're like, does it taste better? And he gives a kind of smirk and goes, yeah. So, he's a control freak. It's one of the first few practices at UT.
Does that surprise you? I was about to say.
No,
does that surprise you?
He's a control freak, and it was a terrible decision to hire him. I like that pick, Matt. John,
the years of Derek Dooley.
Yes.
I will say bold predictions: 7 wins and a top 5 SEC defense.
Ooh. Top 5 SEC. I think
I'll say, and I don't know if we'll be in both total and scoring. Which do you prefer? I'll take us in
scoring.
I'll take us in total. I like us in total.
So this is going to be an interesting one. I think that Tennessee is either tied or down by less than a touchdown heading into the fourth quarter against the University of Alabama this year.
Oh,
Horse
good Lord.
shit.
Yeah, I agree. That's out there, man.
I mean, anytime that you can think of a coach coming from a team like that, he knows all the ins and outs. I mean, he's going to know that team better than anybody in this entire country that's not on that coaching staff. So I don't think we win. I think we end up getting beat by 10 to 14 points. But I think heading into the fourth quarter, it is going to be a close
The
game.
hottest of
Yeah,
hot
I think
takes.
we'll see about
It's
that.
it's
I
a
don't
home
know.
game.
Oh, I agree, but I also remember a top 10 matchup that was supposed to be a competitive
Yep.
game
Yeah.
that
That we
ended
got
up being
blown out.
56-7, the only game that we really left.
That's also
early.
after
That was injury.
that was a lot of
riddled.
problems there, but yeah, I do agree with you
Jalen
there.
Hurd doing whatever he was doing at that point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there was a lot of factors that went into that beatdown, but
We'll see what happens.
all right.
Matt, what do you got?
Hot take
Who's the
two.
other one?
Hot take 2. I'm not going anywhere near as bold as that. Let's see here.
I think beating Missouri by 3 touchdowns was just as bold.
Just as bold? No way. I
No.
think that by that point,
Not being
in our
tied.
season,
What do you say?
Tied going into the
or
fourth quarter?
Down by less than a
I love
touchdown.
Jeremy Pruitt, and I think he's a great player, but he's not going to be able to beat Nick Saban like that.
We'll replay this.
No,
whenever.
we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, we'll
see how
replay it.
close You're about to lose $20 too.
Yeah, I will say this. So I made a bet with Noah earlier this year, saying that we were probably going to lose to Florida, and I've slowly but surely changed my mind on it. So
yours was $20, right?
He
said he was-
and I said 6-pack of choice.
Yeah,
right?
6-pack
there
of
you
choice.
Go,
So
there you
I'm
go.
about to be
I'm
out
about to be out
$30
about
here.
$20 and a 6-pack. So yippee me. That's okay. It's a win-win situation for me. So if I
It's the lose-lose situation if we lose to Florida.
oh yeah.
All right, so
Bold prediction number 2. Killer Christ. I just did that again. Killer Christ is Killer Christ. Top 6 quarterback. Top 6 in passing yards this season.
in the SEC.
In the SEC, if he becomes our starter.
Okay, I can dig that.
Might not be too bold, but
I can dig it. I mean, either way, I think Helton's offense will put us in contention for that.
that's what I believe that as well.
For the top 40%, 45% of the league. What you got, Noah?
2 receivers get over.
1,000?
I'm gonna say 800. I think
Okay.
both Marquez
2 receivers
Callaway
over 800.
and Juwan Jennings both end up with over 800 yards. And I think
I don't think that's that bold of a prediction, honestly. I mean, you got Marquez Callaway, who's Mr. Deep Threat.
Marquez Callaway had 420 yards receiving last year and
That's-
led the team.
That's true, but he also didn't. We didn't have a quarterback who could hit him, and
Exactly. We don't know. What we
also
got
he
yet.
disappeared for the entire middle of the season. So
Okay, stop.
yeah, I know. Well,
It's-
that's
that
in the past now.
Intern and his staff.
Intern and his staff.
But I do think this year, talking about the vertical passing game still, I mean, both these kids are, Juwan Jennings is obviously a dog, and last year you saw what happens with one-on-ones with Marquez Callaway as he's going to come down with the ball, you know.
And what was that one-handed catch in the spring game right there? That was sick.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
He does those things over and over, so as long as the offensive line, which I'm going to make another bold prediction. Sorry, I'm going to go with 3 real quick.
I was going to get one too, so go right ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to jump in as I just thought about it. This offensive line is not going to be a weakness on this team. I think with the guys that they've added, with the experience and the health, I mean, you got Chance Hall back. That is being understated right now. Is if he's actually truly back like they're saying, and that knee is 90%, that's a pretty good guy that can play right tackle, right guard. I mean, you just got depth in there. I feel a lot better right now about
I feel a
our
lot better
offensive
about the
line. And
offensive line was easily a weak point of our team last year, and it's
Easily.
definitely flipped at this
and
point.
it won't be this year.
Definitely flipped.
I agree. My last hot take or bold prediction is that going into game 9, we will be 5-3.
Game 9, 5-3. Who's game 9?
5-3. So let's see.
7.
Your 3 losses going to be Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, and then beating South Carolina.
It's
Josh
gonna
beating
be
who?
Georgia, Bama, and somebody else.
Whether you're beating Auburn or South Carolina.
Yep.
Interesting. I like the pick.
I don't know. South Carolina. I'm interested to see how South Carolina is this year.
It depends on how the Alabama game goes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm interested to see how South Carolina as a team is this year.
As a team?
But
I feel like they could either bust hard, or they could come out and be a top 15 team by that point.
I think that will be a huge point. Well, that if this is a really, really tight game and we lose, it'll be a massive letdown. If we get blown out, it'll be, how the team rebounds and is coming off the Alabama. That'll be a big South Carolina is going to be a big game this year.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, for recruiting, for finishing, for bowl game. In all honesty,
that's probably the third most. That's probably one of the teams I'm most excited to play this year again too.
Yeah.
I want to beat the brakes off of Will Muschamp's team.
Oh my gosh!
Because I am sick.
What are we, 0-6?
0-5?
0-5 or 0-6?
2 years at South Carolina.
3 years at Florida.
3 years at Florida, I think. He only lasted 3, I think.
Okay, so we're 0-5 against Will Muschamp at this point, and I mean you just can't have that happen. So, as we wrap up here, though, do y'all have anything else you'd like to throw in?
All Tennessee fans won today. Urban Meyer is going to be fired, and couldn't be happier.
Fired.
Okay, they're going to let him go with cause. If they let him go with cause, I'll be the happiest person on this planet. Okay, I hate Urban Meyer. I think every Tennessee fan hates Urban Meyer, which rightfully so.
Dan Wilkins pretty mad that they didn't make Schiano.
Yeah, and Schiano, even funnier, Schiano is not the interim head coach. So you can't be mad at today. Can't be mad at today in Ohio State.
Anything, John?
Enjoy your beer. Don't drive drunk. Have a great rest of the summer. Hope to see y'all on the road this season here at home in Knox. For those of you that tuned in, get to watch us on replay. Thanks for coming in and listening to us ramble for a little bit. But hope y'all are as excited for this season as we are. Hopefully we start getting some reports on the boys popping in fall camp. Signing off here with Noah Caldwell, John Broyles, Matt Brewer. This is Orange White Takeover. Go Vols.
Go Vols.
DJ Khaled, Convict Music, we the best. Yeah, we taking over. Listen.
Spread out with it. South Carolina.